What's good, y'all? It's your girl, Talented Red Nails, back at it again with another video. This is a long-awaited video, and I'm so sorry it took so long, but let's get right into it, okay? So, one of the first things I'm going to do with my client is use my cuticle pusher to gently push back the skin covering the base of her nail plate, which is not the cuticle itself. That is a transparent layer of dead cells that can be removed. But this is the living tissue, the living skin at the base of her nail called the eponychium. So I am pushing that back, and in doing so, I'm actually revealing the cuticle that is on the nail. And it's important to make sure that the cuticle is properly removed so that you don't cause any lifting or surface breakdown to the enhancement. So this is a really important step, and I really try not to skip out on it, especially for clients who have overgrown eponychiums. It's just important to do this step. It also elongates the nail bed and makes it a lot easier for you to just give your client a nicer, cleaner look. And ironically enough, they don't come back super quickly for fill-ins because you're like I said, you're elongating the nail bed. So, you're giving them a little bit extra space, and their nails tend to last a little bit longer when you do this before just slapping the acrylic on the nails. So make sure you go over both hands, pushing back the eponychium, exposing the cuticle, and once we go over all of the nails with our drill bit here, I have a zebra sanding band in medium grit that I'm going to use over her nail plate, and I'm on a low speed. You don't want to use your drill too high, or you don't want your speed to be too high on your drill as your I shouldn't even call it a drill, it's an e-file, but you don't want it to be too abrasive, too harsh. So keep that in mind. Low speed. I usually keep mine at like a 3 or 4, definitely no higher than a 5 when I'm doing this part. And keep in mind, I am making sure I get all the way around the perimeter of her nail, removing that cuticle that we just exposed, and making sure that the surface of the nail is free from any oils or shiny areas which would affect the adhesion of our acrylic and the nail tip. So make sure that you're gentle, but that you're leaving a nice, how do you say, I don't want to say abrasive surface. That's the wrong word to use. But you need a little texture. You need a textured surface on the nail plate to make sure that your product adheres properly. You don't want to overwork the nail bed. You don't want to overwork the nail plate because you can thin out your client's nails super easily doing that. So be mindful. But just make sure, you're being gentle and removing all that shine and the cuticle that would be around the nail so that your tips and your actual set last long. You want to give the clients good quality, and they don't want to be walking back in the door because nails done popped off after a few days or even after a week, or it already looks like they need a fill in a couple days in. So all of this is really important in your prepping process, and you should do it for each and every client just to ensure good quality and a lengthy wear for the set that they're paying for. Some of you all may notice that I am rubbing the surface of her thumb with my own thumb. I'm only doing that on this particular finger because she had like some leftover acrylic on this finger, and I want to make sure that it's all the way off before I go further with her set. I do not recommend you utilizing your own hand, especially if you're not wearing gloves, to touch your client's nail plate, you're essentially transferring oils right back onto the nail plate that you just tried to remove oils from when you do that. So I touched it, but I made sure I was feeling for acrylic. I made sure it was fully removed, and then I used the e-file a little bit more to remove any shine or oils I could have transferred to her nail. I'll also be dehydrating the nail plate before I prime to ensure that there really aren't any oils stuck to the nail that I cannot see with my naked eye. The key here is to just have your client's fingernail tips dehydrated before you apply any sort of acrylic on there. Dehydrate, remove the shine, dehydrate, then you prime, because the primer is sticky, and that is going to help along with the texture that you just provided. That is going to help with adhesion, okay? You always want to do that in your prep. Make sure you remove the cuticle. Make sure you dehydrate the nail. You make sure you prime the nail, and then you go along with your set. Obviously, after you have buffed the surface a little bit and removed that shine and gotten some texture on the nail plate. These are all very, very, very critical steps in your preparation, and if you are skipping any one of these, chances are your sets are not lasting long, or your client's having issues with lifting or nails popping off or something like that. So don't skip out on the prep. It's super important, and it just, gives your clients their money's worth, honestly. So that's a part of the service. Don't skip out. Do it. As you can see now, I am sizing her fingertips and trying to put her nail tips on. I actually sell these on my website. I'm waiting for our relaunch, so I'll have them soon, but you should be able to find them at your local nail shop. They're just the natural curve, but in clear tips, and I like these. I tend to use them better, more so than the natural colored one, because sometimes if I'm doing freestyle sets, I never really know what design I'm going for ahead of time, and some of my designs might call for encapsulation or a see-through nail or something like that, and so it's just easier for me to start my sets off with clear tips as opposed to the natural color ones, unless the client is specifically requesting those for some reason. But yeah, I just go straight for the clear, whether they're natural curves or C-curve tips or the straight tips. I just like to do clear. So yeah, that's my preference. But you do you, boo. Whatever works for you. Once I'm done fitting her tips, at this stage, I would have to, assess the length, see if she wants them cut down, or if we add in another tip, or if we just not cutting anything down. This particular client loves long nails, so I didn't have to do too much as far as the length goes. And then I didn't have to do much pre-shaping either, because we went with a square shape. And these tips are already tapered square. They're not wide. So, I didn't have to do too much there. And being that I didn't have to do too much there, the next steps for me were really blending the tips so that I have a smooth foundation and I'm not laying the acrylic over any lumps or bumps because of where the tip is placed on the natural nail. So I'm just smoothing that out with the same drill bit I just used in medium. And once I've done that, I'll go ahead and finish the rest of the prep process and start laying the acrylic. Notice how I am staying on the tip area mainly, especially where the natural nail and the actual tip meet. I'm not really going beyond that because we just went over her nail plate. So for me to go over the entire length of the tip as well as her nail plate again would be unnecessary, because you'd be overworking the natural nail plate. You do not want to thin out your client's nails, and trust me, it does not take too much over filing to do that. So I'm really just focusing on the area where I place that glue, where the tip is sitting on top of the natural nail, and thinning that out a bit so that there's no harsh line there or elevation in that area. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure your foundation is flat and smooth so that your application can lay properly when you're working with the acrylic. So keep that in mind. Once you've prepped the natural nail plate with your zebra band or your regular sanding band, you really don't have to go back over it. I'm hitting this one spot in the back because I noticed some cuticle left back there, and just wanted to take care of that. So nothing wrong with catching the cuticle. You definitely want to remove that. But as far as going over the entire nail plate twice, it's just not necessary. So focus more so on that area where the tip and the natural nail meet. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on this side, because of course what you do to one hand, you must do to the other. And yeah, some people may be curious about whether or not it's necessary to go over the full length of the tip on this part. It's all about your preference. I don't necessarily do that for every single set that I've done. For me, though, I do like to go over the whole tip because it just provides texture again and can help you control the speed of your acrylic when you place it on the nail. Mainly what we're doing is blending the area where the tip and natural nail meet. But again, filing over the entire length of the tip, no matter the length, will help you control the acrylic speed because you're providing that texture. And just imagine if you are placing a liquid substance that is really, really pliable and easily it's still in like a really liquid state. It's super easy for it to slide down a smooth surface as opposed to a textured surface that would slow it down a bit and give you a little bit more control. I hope you can picture what I'm saying. But again, it's not totally necessary. It depends on the person, depends on the set, depends on the time that you're working with. Me personally, I knew that I was doing a freestyle set on her. I was working with long nails, and I wanted to have some time to work with my acrylic. So I went ahead and just buffed the entire surface of the nail tip to give me some texture and make sure that I am in full control of the speed of the acrylic and the speed of how it's falling down the tip, if that makes sense. Because remember, you want to work with the acrylic, and gravity helps a tremendous bit when you are applying your acrylic. That's why it's so important to remember to tilt your client's finger downward so that you're working with gravity and you don't have to force the acrylic to go downward to the free edge. Gravity will do that for you, and you can always level your client's finger if you need it to slow down some, or use your brush to push it back up and control the product. But the texture tip along with gravity itself helps you to control how the acrylic is flowing down the length of the tip. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But again, preference thing. You don't have to do it. I did it for this particular set, and you'll see once I start working with the acrylic, I'm in full control of the product and it's not getting away from me, for a lack of a better term. At this point, I am just making sure I've got all of my products right next to me that I'm going to use for her set. I generally never know exactly what I'm going to do for a freestyle set. Not even once the client sits in my chair. I will gain some inspiration once they get there. And it's just pull colors and just let my creativity take me away. So, yeah, I didn't know how the set was going to turn out, but as I was working with the colors that I pulled out, I did a little something, made something shake, and the end result is, of course, what you saw at the beginning of the video. So everything always comes together in the freestyle sets. Every now and then I might have an idea or something I want to try out, but I wouldn't necessarily call those freestyle sets. So when I do a freestyle set, I'm literally winging it all the way through until we're done, and then we just admire the masterpiece together at the end. But yeah, for this set, I want to say every powder I used was from the Valentino Beauty Pure brand. I could not tell you all the exact numbers or names of the powders because I did not write them down, and it's been a while since I've done this actual set, so I don't remember, but I know I used white, clear, a red, a nude, and I believe the glitters I'm using are from a different brand. Don't quote me on this. Jacqueline Acosta, I want to say. I'm using her glitter acrylics. But again, don't quote me. In any case, she got some good products too, so y'all might want to check her out. But yeah, this first nail is starting out as an ombre. Y'all saw I laid the red first, pretty much right at the start of where the tip and the natural nail meet, and then worked that all the way down, leaving myself some space towards the back to apply my second color, which is my nude. And I'm just working on getting a nice flawless transition right now. And the goal is to have a solid color at the base, have it kind of see-through, transparent looking in the middle, and then have another solid color at the tip when you're doing ombre. So as of right now, you can see how that red is shining right through where the two colors meet. That's generally where you want the transition to be. However, you don't want it to look like such a harsh line going straight through the nude or that base color. So make sure you're placing enough colored acrylic at the base to hide the harsh lines and make it look like a smooth transition. Okay? You don't want to over flood the cuticle area, but you don't want it to be see-through in the where the nude is supposed to be solid, if that makes sense. So just be mindful of that when you're doing your ombres. I don't care what colors you're ombreing. And on that note, not all colors are compatible with an ombre. You could try to make something work, but some colors just do not complement each other well, and it's hard to blend into each other. So you want to choose colors that will blend nicely into each other and not clash when you're doing your ombres. Okay? Make your life easier and don't overwork yourself trying to blend two colors together that are not meant to be blended. Okay? So yeah, ombre on that nail, and then I'm gonna move right along. I'm probably looking at my colors right now, trying to see what my next step is going to be. But like I said, I just be winging it. So typically my freestyle sets will take depending on the length of the nail. Really, it depends on the length of the nail and how much work I'm doing. But if it's a new set, I tend to tell my clients, be prepared to sit for at least 2 hours. And if we sitting down talking and gossiping and I have to stop and I'm laughing and all this stuff, baby, give me about 2.5 hours because it's going to take some time. But we just be cutting up in there. So y'all will be sitting through this video for about 2.5 hours if you stay through the whole thing and listen to me talk you through it and, get all these jewels and gems that I'm dropping. I noticed a lot of people will come and look at my videos and just skim through them, watch a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there, and then have the audacity to not even like or subscribe either. Like, the fuck? I don't know what that is, but yeah, y'all support your girl if you love these videos, and make sure you sit through them, watch them, pay attention to the juice and the sauce I'm giving y'all, and definitely hit the like and subscribe button. I don't care if it take me a few months to post a video. They will come, okay? Don't just be falling off like that. I don't like that. If you gonna show your support and you fuck with my work, fuck with it the long way. You heard? Okay. Anyway, so apparently on this nail, I am choosing to do a marble look. And when I marble, I have a few different ways I marble acrylic. But typically, I will pick up multiple colors at one time on my brush, place them on the nail, and then work them into a swirl pattern while on the actual nail plate or nail tip. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm not placing one color at a time and then blending it, because, mind you, once that powder makes contact with the liquid, it begins to harden, it begins to solidify, it begins to set. Okay, you only have so much time to really work the product, especially when you're marbling. And this is why I choose to pick up multiple colors at one time and work them while it's on the actual nail plate, as opposed to one at a time, and then the first color is already partially dried by the time you put the third color on. You're just not gonna get the marble effect you want. So keep that in mind. But do what works for you, boo. That's all I can say. Do what works for you. And okay, so to top off this look, I'm going in with some glitter, just sporadic spaces, just to give it some razzle dazzle. I started with this one, but didn't really like how it looked on the nail, so I pulled another one and decided to add it to that, and it gave it the pop that I was looking for. Yes, look at that. That is so much better. And I'm thinking I'm digging that glitter a lot more because it has the pinkish reddish look to it, which complements the colors I'm already working with, as opposed to that bluish tint, which seemed to be working against the color scheme I was going for. So yeah, I definitely stuck with the latter glitter throughout the set as opposed to the first one. Moving right along to the next nail. We working with our first bead right here. Again, you always want to place it pretty much right at the spot where the tip and the natural nail meet and work it down. Notice I am patting and pulling downward while simultaneously tipping my client's finger downward. Okay, I'll tip it down, lift it back up, tip it down, lift it back up, because again, it is helping me to control the speed of the acrylic and how fast it's going down the nail. But I help myself out by giving the nail tip a little bit of texture so that the acrylic wasn't just sliding right off of the nail as soon as I placed it on there. But that also has to do with your ratio as well. If you have too much liquid in your brush and not enough powder, the consistency is going to be off, and yes, it will be a lot more runny and harder to work with. So we'll have to do a separate video on the correct ratio so that your consistency is good and you have the right control every single time you pick up a bead. You always want the perfect bead, because it won't harden on you too quickly and it won't run away from you too quickly. So we're gonna do a separate video on that. But take these notes, y'all. Take these notes. See, if you're skipping through this video, you're not going to hear all of this. You're not going to get all this juice. So I hope y'all are just sitting through this and, paying attention to what I'm telling you so that you become better nail technicians. Or shit, if you're not a nail technician and you're somebody that likes to get their nails done, you could tell the person doing your nails that they don't know what they're doing. You're doing this and this and this wrong. You need to do such and such and such. Okay? So keep that in mind. even while working with the acrylic, I am mindful of the shape of the tips, and I want to maintain the integrity of the shape as much as possible. I'm not just trying to slap a whole bunch of acrylic product on the nail or have them super thick or just be careless with how I'm laying the acrylic, because I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of extra shit post application to get the shape back right. I'm already gonna hit the sides and make sure it's nice and crispy. You all already know how I do. If you've seen my work, the shape is always popping. So I will hit the shape up a little bit post application, but I don't make it hard on myself by being careless with how I'm applying the acrylic. I always use my brush to smooth out the sides and make sure that it's not too excessive or flooding on the sides, and I just keep the acrylic as close to the shape of the actual tip as possible. Yeah, so I'm like super OCD when it comes to nails for some reason, and if I see a speck or a hair or anything that's not supposed to be there on the surface, you're gonna see me doing what I just did, and that is using the tip of my brush very gently to try to remove whatever is on the nail. Because some people don't give a damn, but for me, if I see something on a nail that's not supposed to be there, I'm not one of those nail techs that can just look beyond it, keep on going, and be on some, oh well, I hope the customer doesn't see it, or if she see it, I don't care. I can't do that, because I really try to consider my clients' feelings when they're in my chair, and how I would feel if somebody didn't take the time to remove a piece of glitter or a speck or a hair from my nail if they saw it. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you miss it or something, honestly, but if you see it, cause you the one doing the work. So if you see it on the nail and you choose to leave it on there, that's just lazy. That is lazy, and it shows that you really don't care about your clients. You just doing it to get a real quick payout. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, we on this thing to make money. We gonna do this to make money, but you want to show your clients that you care. So that's just me. I'm not OCD about too many things in life, but when it comes to nails, I just don't play about it. So whatever doesn't need to be there, I will remove. Point blank, period. And before I go any further, finishing the other 2 nails, I am going over these 3 with some clear acrylic to set the color in place and to give it a little extra thickness. Not too thick, because I can't stand an overly thick nail, child, but when I'm working with multiple colors, I don't lay the color acrylic on too thick. For one, the colored acrylic comes in smaller pots, smaller containers than your clears, your whites, and your nudes. So you don't want to use excessive amounts of colored acrylic when you're working with them. You want to be a little bit light-handed with the colored acrylic, and you get the thickness that you need for your structure by encapsulating whatever your design is in clear. Okay, so that's what I've done. That marble nail isn't super thick. I have enough on there to get the desired effect, but in order for my client to have reinforcements and structure, I am applying the clear over that, and it might look cloudy now, but by the time we're done, it'll be completely see-through like glass. So that's important, as well as being sure you do not mess up the design itself when we get to the post-application filing. We're going to have to either, depending on your comfortability level, use an e-file or a hand file to smooth out whatever uneven areas might be on the surface of the enhancement. And if you do not have a protective layer, such as this clear acrylic, over your colored acrylic designs, you will remove your design. That might seem like common sense, but common sense ain't so common. So I just feel the need to say that, okay? Even when it comes to the ombre, I don't always encapsulate my ombres. I'm not going to lie. If I do it thick enough, and by this time I ain't tooting my own horn or nothing, but I'm a pro with the ombres, okay? So I can use a certain amount of clear acrylic to create my ombre nail. It'd be blended beautifully. Application is smooth and it's beautiful, and I don't need to go over it with clear acrylic to protect anything, because I don't have to file over the colors that I've blended, so I don't have to worry about fucking up the ombre, if that makes sense. But if you are not 100% comfortable in your application, or you feel like it's too thin, then yeah, go ahead and use your clear acrylic and encapsulate your colored acrylic designs, okay, or your colored acrylic foundation, so that you do not mess up or remove too much of the color, and you have enough structure. You have enough product on the nail to provide structure for your client, so their nails aren't just too thin and breaking. Okay. And once I am satisfied with the thickness of the nail, and I know that the design is well protected, I'm going to go ahead and finish the look with these last two nails on this hand. I'm out of frame right now, but all I'm doing is flipping my client's hand over to get a better idea of their perspective, what they see looking at their own hands, and deciding on what else I want to do with her freestyle. Because again, I don't have a final look in mind at this point. I am just working with the products, and I don't want it to be too redundant, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too boring. I like to mix it up a little bit, but still have a theme when I'm doing these freestyle sets. So I was just trying to flip her hand around to gain a little bit of inspiration and see what direction I want to go with the set. And once I figured that out, I just started to do what I'm doing now, pick up my red and continue with the design. On this nail, I wanted to do another ombre with a twist. So it's going to complement the pinky by also being an ombre with a red tip. And it's going to incorporate some glitter. So that's not the only glitter nail on the set as far as her ring finger goes. So you'll see what I'm about to do. And then we move on to the thumb, where I throw some more white in there. Again, I just want to have a good balance, a good theme, and, make sure it's not boring. All of this is the foundation and the base of the freestyle set. I can choose to, just leave it as is with the colored acrylic, or do like a mixed media type of thing, which 9 times out of 10 I do decide to go for with my freestyle sets. So, I'll use colored acrylic, and then I might encapsulate something, or I might use some acrylic paint or gel polish to hand paint a design as well. Might do some bling or some 3D art on top of that, or use different textures like foil or something else just to add to the set itself. So it just depends on how I'm feeling and which direction I want to go with my freestyle set. But 9 times out of 10, I'll do colored acrylic and just add some stuff to it towards the end, which is what I did with this set. I painted a few X's and O's and did a 3D design with the lips. And yeah, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, but y'all will see what I mean. Right now, I'm just focusing on creating this 3 color ombre blend. You can't really call the glitter a color, but you know what I mean. I'm using 3 different acrylics to create an ombre look, and so it's nude fading into glitter, fading into red. And as you can see, it all goes together. It ain't the exact same thing on each nail, but it all goes together, baby. That's what we want. I picked up a rather large bead for this thumb, but I don't know if you all can tell, I don't have full coverage the way that I should, especially at the free edge or at the very tip. It's see-through, it's thin, so don't be afraid to go back over any sparse areas and add more color or, more acrylic rather for structure, and to make sure that, again, it's not see-through, okay? If you see a lump or a dip or a bump or something like that, because we're encapsulating, 9 times out of 10, that won't truly matter, unless that's the clear layer that you see those issues on. But what I'm referring to right now is the base color that we're working with. I just placed another bead of acrylic over the same area that I just applied the first one, yet I'm still not satisfied with the thickness at the free edge. So don't be afraid to add a little bit of acrylic right at the bottom, at the top of the tip, so that you can make sure it's even and not see-through and has the same thickness all the way through the nail. I like to place the acrylic and then backstroke the product towards the cuticle area to make sure that it's blended properly and there's not a harsh line. Just because you're using the same color on top of the same color, white on white, does not mean that you can just place it and only stroke forward or pat and pull downward towards the free edge. If you do not make sure that that bead that you just placed is properly blended, you are going to have a harsh line or a weird looking effect going on with that nail. So make sure if you're placing a bead of acrylic in the middle of a nail, you're blending backwards as well as forwards. Okay? Please, please, please be mindful of that, because you do not want to create any harsh lines. So I am going to go ahead and encapsulate this white. Even though I used a few beads on this nail, I'm still going to encapsulate it, because once I get to the post application smoothing phase, I do not want to remove any color or chunks of acrylic with the e-file. And when I get to doing around the cuticle area, I want to make sure that that area is protected. I have made the mistake of using colored acrylics such as black or red or white at the, on a nail, and I did not encapsulate. And when it got to filing around the cuticle area, the product might not have been set enough, or 9 times out of 10 it's probably because it's not set enough, because colored acrylic takes a little bit longer to dry than your clear or your nude colors for whatever reason, and white is still a colored acrylic. So chunks might come out, or you might have a small little gash or something, and then you're stuck having to go back over that area and reapply the acrylic. If you care, if you give a damn about your clients, you'll do it. Reapply the acrylic so that you can fix the error that you just made, the chunk that you just took out with your file. So I like to just go ahead when I'm working with colored acrylic and just encapsulate everything, even if it is a solid nail, just so that I can ensure the product has properly set. And when I do my post-application smoothing and cleaning up, I am not chipping away at the colored acrylic in any area. Okay, so now I'm about to move on to her other nail. This will be, the design will be similar, but not the same. So instead of skipping this part or fast forwarding through it, I am going to also let it play out in real time and allow you all to see what I'm doing and, my application techniques. These hands are not twins, but they are sisters. Remember, I'm using the same colors and working with a theme, but I don't want it to be really boring or redundant. So I'm not going overboard with how different it is, but I am making it different. So each hand is its own while still complementing each other. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let this ride out. And when I have something else to say, I'm coming back. I'm coming right back. Okay, I'm coming right back. Now, usually when I am working with colored acrylics, especially heavily saturated colored acrylics such as this red or black or just bold dark colors, or even if it's a yellow or green or something like that, I like to put a layer of clear on the natural nail plate first, once my tips are on, of course, but before I apply the actual color, so as to not leave a color dye on the nail plate. I honestly don't know why I did not do that with this set. Probably just not even thinking about it, really. Got sidetracked or whatever the case may have been, but I highly recommend placing a thin layer of colored acrylic on the natural nail, or even as a base from the natural nail to the tip all the way down. If you want to protect your client's nail plate from the color bleeding into it, as well as if you're one of those nail techs that like to do colored acrylic changes for fill-in services, where you basically remove the whole colored acrylic design and start over. It's good to just do a clear layer from the cuticle area to the free edge, and then place your colored acrylic design above that or on top of that, so that when it comes time to do the fill/color change, you can file your pre-existing colored acrylic design off until you get to that clear layer for your base, and then you can start over again, adding more color or a brand new design without the nails being too bulky or you having to completely start over with the soak off service before you can do a new set, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know why I did it this time. Don't be like me. Make sure you add that clear base, okay? If you're gonna do some colors that can bleed into the nail, because our natural nails are porous and it can absorb really easily. And such a harsh color with like this red or, like I said, yellows, just heavily pigmented colors can seep into the natural nail quickly and cause them to be discolored if there's no protective barrier. So yeah, keep that in mind in the future. And I'll take my own advice and remember to do that also. Remember that it's going to be very difficult to move the product down successfully without tracking product backwards onto the surface area unless you're keeping your brush clean. So notice how every once in a while I am wiping my brush off on my paper towel to make sure that both sides are clean, because I do not want to accidentally pick some acrylic up in the brush and then, try to move the product downward. And as I pat and pull, I'm just tracking that old acrylic or the excess acrylic back onto the area I'm trying to smooth out. And it's just wise to remember to keep your brush clean. And also make sure that you dip it into your monomer every now and then. Not that you want to fill it with liquid, because that'll make your product runny, and it'll also cause your client's nails to burn, their actual finger tip or the nail bed to burn if there's too much liquid on their nail plate. So you don't want to oversaturate your brush with liquid, but you do want to use your monomer to keep your brush clean and sleek, so that it's easier to move the product. Notice where I am placing this bead of colored acrylic. It is not right on the back of the eponychium or on the cuticle area, because you want to be able to control where the product is going. So you place it close to the cuticle area, near the eponychium, but you give yourself enough leeway to be able to float the product back into those tight areas so that you're not flooding the side walls and the cuticle area. Because one thing about it, certain pigments are just hard to get off the skin and out of the crevices. I've learned that from experience. So you don't want to flood that area with acrylic. Make sure you're giving yourself enough space back there to control where the product is going and fit it into the areas you want it to go. And then you smooth the rest of the product out with the previous beads that you've placed that have already begun to set. And again, I'm always twisting and turning my client's hand and fingers a certain way so that I can check out the angles and see if I need to add more product or fill in any low areas or dips or anything like that. And then once I'm satisfied, I will encapsulate with clear to once again protect the colored acrylic that I'm already using or the design that I'm doing, just as I'm doing here with this ombre, and I will do that throughout this set on this hand as well. Bear in mind, I am a stickler about shape, so I'm always using my brush. 9 times out of 10, I'm using it like in a vertical direction to taper the sides and make sure that I am keeping the shape true to however I shaped it pre-application. In this case, I didn't really have to do much pre-application shaping, so I'm just making sure that I'm keeping the acrylic the same, covering the same area of the tip. I don't want it too wide. I don't want it running over. I don't want it too bulky. I'm just, smoothing it out with my brush, making sure that it's hugging the curves or the sidelines of the tip. Make sure you work smarter, not harder, okay? Remember that gravity is on your side when you place your bead, so you don't initially have to worry about or focus on trying to get the product down the nail. Once you place your bead on the nail and you tilt your client's finger downward, gravity will help it get to the free edge. You want to focus more or less on floating the product back towards the cuticle area and pushing the product back onto the nail, because as you can see, once you place it, there's only a few places it can go. It's going to flatten and spread out and run over the nail tip, or it's going to go downward, or it's going to do all at the same time. So trust that the product will float itself downward, and your main concern once placing your bead is to keep the product on the surface that you're working with by pushing the sidewalls in first, floating your cuticle area, that bead or the tip of the acrylic back towards the cuticle area, and then you go back to focus on bringing the rest of the product downward to the free edge. But that's usually my formula. Place the bead, sidewall, cuticle area, and then downward. And it just helps me control the product and make sure that it's not running over and that I'm not leaving any harsh lines or lumps in the nail, because remember, it's setting pretty quickly. So you only have so much time to work with it. You want to just make sure it's not running over the sides. So that's why you push the product back on top of the nail or the surface, and then you float it into your cuticle area and then focus on bringing it downward to the free edge, just as I'm doing. And if you have to add a few beads of acrylic to get your desired look and thickness, do that. Place a bead at the free edge at the tip and backstroke using your brush to blend it in with the rest of the product so that nail is the same thickness all the way through. I noticed I had picked up the wrong color here, and glad I caught it when I did, because had I not, I would have placed white acrylic right on top of my red instead of clear, and that would have been a mess to clean up. It just would have destroyed the design. I might have tried to make it work, or I would have really had to just go back and file that off and reapply the red and then do the clear. It just would have been a mess. So note to you, when working with white and clear acrylic side by side in the jars, they look exactly the same. It's only once you get it on your brush that you'll realize one becomes a little transparent and one is clearly a bright white. However, again, in the jars, they look the same. So if your product's not labeled or you're not careful, you can easily mistake your white powder for clear and totally fuck up your design. So pay attention. Pay attention to what you're doing when you're working and where you're dipping your brush. So a lot of people have questions about the perfect bead and how they know when it's the right time to apply. If you can see right here, once it goes from that textured looking substance to a more smooth, shiny substance, that's when it's just right. It's not going to be too runny. It's not going to be too dry. It will give you just the right amount of flexibility that you need to control it and work it down to the free edge. You always want to pay attention to the appearance of your bead. Once you have dipped your brush into that liquid, it's made contact with your acrylic powder. What you're looking for is for it to go from a bumpy or pitted look to a smooth or shiny look, and once it does that, that bead will be the perfect consistency for you. So if you need to go back to that one little part and look at that again so you can see how the bead changes in consistency or texture rather, then do that. But that is always a trick that you can use to make sure that you're getting the right bead and it's not going to be too dry or too runny. So I personally felt like I covered up that glitter a little bit more than I wanted to and decided to apply just a little bit more of the glitter acrylic over the ombre, just to reinforce that part of the design and make sure it's not washed out, so to speak. And sometimes you just got to do that, and it really doesn't matter because we are going to be encapsulating with clear. But again, I just have a certain way I want things to look, and so if something looks off to me, I do what I need to do to fix it until I'm satisfied. And once I am, I will go ahead and encapsulate my design with the clear. Again, remembering to tilt my client's finger downward, letting gravity work while I focus on the sidewalls. It's a lot easier to have control, especially when you're working with longer nails. You don't have to waste your energy with trying to control the product, moving it downward. Physics. Let gravity help you. Focus on that cuticle area and keeping the acrylic or whatever you're working with from running over the nails or flooding the sidewall area. Taper in your sides with your brush, and when you're satisfied with that and you have control over your product, then focus on the free edge and working the rest of the product down.
Like, but who even does that though when they're not asked to do that? What the fuck? That's how you know you're a narcissist. If you tell a therapist that, they'll be like, yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I actually follow the TikTok page about like being a narcissist and like noticing the
Well, bitch, get a clue, okay? Because
I mean, yeah, but I also feel like I was dating a narcissist. I feel like Master, who's in California, I feel like he's a
all it takes one to know one. That's what
maybe, yeah, he's an asshole. But I didn't do the pickle thing out of like, I know she's not gonna like, she don't want pickles, let me take them off. Like, I just took them from myself.
You just did not even think about it, because that's how you order your food.
Right, so I made it an executive decision.
It's okay, next time, leave my fucking pickles. I like pickles, but matter of fact, I usually order extra pickles.
I like pickles and ranch, okay? I like cheese and no pickles.
Basically.
You like chicken mustard and flavor sauce. I love the mustard and
Every now and then, but it ain't an everyday thing. You can keep your onions and your everything else, but just give me the steak and the A1.
So after I finish cleaning up this hand with the cuticle bit, or just the medium carbide bit, I do the same thing to the other side until I'm completely satisfied with the cleanup, and then go over all of the nails with my buffing block. And if I need to tighten up the shape a little bit more, then I'll hit it one more time with the hand file. But that's pretty much it for the actual set itself and application and post-application process. What I'm getting ready to do now is just finish everything up, adding the final details like the bling and the 3D lips and broken heart, and a few little hand painted details. But as you can see, I'm always trying to make sure that it's nice and straight and all the nails match as far as the width and length go. And once I'm satisfied with that, then I'll spray some alcohol on the nails, or have my clients get up and go wash their hands real quick just to get all that extra dust and debris out of the crevices before I apply any base coat or top coat or bling gel. And once they come back with clean hands, then I go ahead and do the final details and finish everything off. So what you're about to watch is the design part, and after that, we done. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Leave it in the comments, and I will respond to those as soon as possible. As far as the base coat, top coat, and the bling gel that I'm using, those are all from my line, the Talented Red Nails product line. And I do have a website for my products. However, I have to restock a lot, so you all just have to stay in touch with me for the relaunch, and then you can try out those products. But yeah, I'm gonna let you all enjoy the rest of the video as I complete the designs, and I don't leave anything out. I show you all exactly how I do the 3D, and you know, like I said, polishing on the last little details with the hand painted X's and O's and lips and all that stuff. So yeah, just stick around for that entire part if you want to learn a thing or two or just see my techniques. Oh, right here, I am going in with the under the cuticle, under the nail bit. There's different names for them, but that's what I call it. It's just a really thin cylinder type bit or cone shaped type bit, really, really small. And it allows you to get into the nooks and crannies. Oh my gosh, I'm yawning. My daughter has me so tired, this baby. Being pregnant is something else, boy. I never thought it would happen for me. But anyway, that's for another video. So let me just try to get through this editing. But yeah, you just want to make sure you go back and look under the nails and clean it. I try to do that every time, every set, especially if my client lets me know that there's something bothering her under the nails. But it's important to do. I think I missed one finger actually on this set. I realized that after the fact. But anywho, this is a good step to remember. Getting that stuff out from underneath the client's nails so they're not irritated and picking their acrylic off later on when they're not in your presence. So take the time out to check underneath the nails after you've applied your acrylic, just to make sure that there's nothing under there that can cause irritation. But okay, let's get into this design though. Hope y'all enjoy. Please like and subscribe. And I know this video is super lengthy, but I try to give you all videos every now and then that don't cut things out and allow you to see the full process. Some people say that they appreciate that. Some people could care less. I don't know. But for those of you that sat through the entire thing, even if you had to pause it and take a break and come back to finish it, I want y'all to leave a word in the comments. That's how I'm going to know who was really fucking with me on this and who sat through the whole thing from beginning to end. And that word is incredible. So if you sat through from beginning to end, again, I never really know what I'm gonna do when it comes to freestyles sets, and this is no different. So as I was in the process of doing the design part, I didn't really have an idea of what I was going to add to the nails, but I brought out some gold foil, and I knew I wanted to do some mixed media. So, you know, what you see is my creativity in the works as it's happening, as my transmitters are going off and the ideas are coming to me. But yeah, I like how it turned out. My client definitely loved how it turned out, and yeah, this was one of my favorite sets that I did in that year, which was like I think 20. Anywho, I don't know, girl. We posting a video now, so that's all that matters. But yeah, I'm going in with my base coat real quick. Or matter of fact, yeah, that's the base coat because I see the top coat over there. I'm probably doing that because I intend to lay some of the gold flakes on top of that nail. The base coat is a little sticky once it comes out of the light, and that allows the gold foil to be placed on it easily without flying away. Oh, don't mind that. We was smoking a little bit in the salon that day because she was my last client, so she passed me the blunt, and I had to take a little hit or two. But anyway, yeah, so base coat, gold flakes, and then I move on to do other things. And I do of course top coat and seal the bling and whatever else I'm encapsulating, such as the gold flakes, with the top coat to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump off this mic, let y'all finish enjoying this video and design process. And again, I will let you all know when the relaunch will be happening for my website in case you want to try some of my products out and see if they work well for you. was going to write some letters on the snail, and once I got to doing it, I decided I didn't want to do that no more. It just wasn't going to go with the design in the way I initially thought. So I think I might have got halfway done with one letter and just wiped it off and decided to go a different route with finishing up the design. so I'm just gonna finish everything off with my top coat. It is absolutely amazing. I wish it was available for everyone right now, but soon come. Once I do this, and I do make sure that I get it, I do make sure that it makes contact with the bling, or like I said, whatever I have placed on the nail, just to help seal it and lock it in place, because this is a really strong top coat. Highly recommend. Can't wait to give you all access to it. And I do lightly go over the 3D design just to give it a little shine or pop. You don't necessarily have to. You can leave the 3D design matte if you want, but I want to give it a little gloss, so I go over it with the top coat as well. And I do this on both hands, and then she is done. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all finish. Watch me add these final touches, and I will be back with another video for you in a little bit. And again, I appreciate everybody that supports me, supports this channel. Been watching my nail tech journey from the time I started out to where I am now, and I can't wait to continue to share this journey with you all, and just to continue to grow it as a community, and for me to get back into teaching classes and doing tours and stuff like that, because I really enjoy helping people learn how to do this, and I love sharing my skill set with everybody. So if I could be a blessing to you all, that blesses me, and I am truly grateful to give knowledge where I can. You know what I mean? So again, for anyone that did sit through this entire video and soaked up everything that I'm showing, I appreciate you all. Leave a comment of any kind, but definitely say the word incredible, so I know you sat all the way through it and you was really fucking with me on this. I will be back with another video.